I'll recognize myself for 5 minutes. Mr. Perkins, I totally disagree with your assessment that you're being open and transparent and providing access to the Inspector General. That is a topic we will continue to discuss today, but I find your comments to be totally inconsistent with what the Inspector General is telling us, and we need to hash that out. It's one of the reasons that you're here today. Glad that you're here. But my questions, I want to focus with the DEA here for a moment. Do you have any questions, Administrator, as to the accuracy of the OIG report? You don't question the accuracy of the report, do you?
I don't question the accuracy.
So this included allegations and examples of DEA agents participating in so-called sex parties where local police were watching DEA equipment. It's included a, quote, loud party incidents involving what one would consider bad judgment. We're allowing prostitutes and allowing those in close proximity with DEA agents to be actually in these agents' rooms and housing. You wouldn't then have a problem with this going away party that was involved the DEA assistant regional director at his residence. You wouldn't disagree then with the assessment that they had multiple accounts of the landlord complaining about the loud parties and whatnot were going in there. Is it wrong for prostitutes to be in government housing?
Well, first of all, it's deplorable behavior by those agents.
But is it a violation of policy?
It's absolutely a violation of policy.
Is it wrong to have a foreign national in close proximity to a DEA agent, close to their guns, personal effects, computer, smartphones? Does that pose any sort of security risk?
Of course, it poses security risks, and that is why these are very serious allegations.
Did you do any investigation as to the age of the women that were involved? Were they just simply there for entertainment?
The investigation, although it's 10 years later, the investigation.
You don't try to paint a picture that this is one incident 10 years ago. Okay, there's an incident, for instance, in July of 2009, for instance, where the DEA agent in Bogota was accused of physically assaulting a prostitute over a payment dispute. A security guard witnessed this agent throwing a glass and hitting the woman. This agent then claimed that the woman had a seizure while she was in the bathroom and cut herself on a candlestick, but it later admitted that, yes, he had engaged with a prostitute. And you know what the punishment for this person was? 14 days unpaid leave. Go on vacation for 2 weeks. You can sit here and cry a pretty picture about how deplorable it is, but your actions suggest otherwise, because there was not the consequence that should have happened. This person is imposing a national security risk, engaging in behavior that is just, it's embarrassing that we have to talk about this. It's an embarrassment that you don't fire that person. It's an embarrassment that you don't revoke his security clearance. Why can't you revoke their security clearance? What prohibits you from revoking that person's security clearance?
Everything you've said about the behavior, I completely agree with. As far as the disciplinary penalties that were handed out in that case, I'm very disappointed in that.
You're the administrator.
The system that's set up following civil service laws, I don't fire. I can't.
Can you revoke their security clearance?
I can't revoke their security clearance. I can ensure that there's a mechanism.
Why can't you?
Like I did after the Cartagena incident, make sure that there's a mechanism in place for those security, for a security review, which resulted in those 3 agents having their security clearances revoked, and they were fired.
And here's the problem. Here's the concern I have. High profile. It's in all the media. Everybody's reporting about the Secret Service engaging with prostitutes. You all get nervous about it, and those people have some discipline. But when it's quiet, and nobody hears about it, and it comes across your desk and your senior staff, can you show me another example where people were engaging in prostitution and in creating these national security problems where you revoke their security clearances? That's what I want to see. Because in this case, that's not what happened. That wasn't too long ago. You're not disputing any of the facts that show up in the report. There's nothing that, is there a statute of limitations? Is there a limit that you can't reach further back? And yet you allow this person who engages a prostitute, throws glass at her, breaks the skin, there's blood all over the place, and they're still employed at the DEA? And you allow that. You're allowing that. Did you try to fire them? Did you try to revoke their security clearance? Do we need to change that law? What do we need to do?
Well, you could look at an exemption like the FBI has, because the current disciplinary process, myself and other directors of federal law enforcement agencies are not allowed to invoke ourselves in the disciplinary process. If we were exempted, or if there was other legislation passed that would allow that, that would allow our directors of federal law enforcement to take that action. The same thing that with a result like Cartagena, where they have done these deplorable activities, that it is investigated, and that a decision is made by the agency without appeal rights to the MSPB.
Okay, so my concern is high profile, you take action. When it's not so high profile and there's a woman involved, you don't take action. And that's a concern, but I hear what you're saying. Last question, because I've exceeded my time. If you are both, the FBI and the DEA, sincere about rooting out this problem and finding solutions, then you need to allow the Inspector General to look at the information. Why do you continue to prohibit him from seeing that information? Why do you hold it back? Why not do all 45 search terms? Why did you only do 3? So I really got to question your sincerity about getting out and rooting out this problem if you don't even know the extent of the problem. You don't even know the extent of the cases, because you won't even allow the Inspector General and his staff to actually look at the cases that are there. You're limiting the inspector from doing their job, which is to help you, help us, help them, help the rest of the agency. I need you to both explain that answer to me, and then I'll yield to the ranking member. Go ahead.
Moving forward, because there's a number of things that I put in place after Cartagena, and you should know that the other incidents I learned about after Cartagena, but they had already been through the system. What we put in place in Cartagena moving forward is the model for how we will handle.
Is the model to impede the ability of the Inspector General to look at the information?
I'm talking about the disciplinary.
I'm talking about the IG. Why can't the IG look at this?
And know that those cases, when they were first reported, are reported immediately over to the OIG. They handed those cases back to us to handle as a management review. We felt that the behavior was so outrageous they needed to be investigated. What we've put in place.
But you went back and investigated him again and still came to the same conclusion that we would have came to the same conclusion. My time is far exceeded, but you gave him 2 to 10 days paid leave. You put him on vacation. You didn't take the disciplinary action. I've got to yield to the gentleman from Maryland.